I'm Philip Roach. This is my oral presentation on The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and Rip Van Winkle by Washington Irving. Uh, Washington Irving attempts to escape from what he called the commonplace realities of the present with his short stories of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and Rip Van Winkle. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, it's about Ichabod Crane, who's the new school teacher and choir director that's moved to town, and his love interest, Katrina, who happens to be the sole heir to a very wealthy estate. Katrina already has a suitor in town, Brom Bones, who is basically the town strongman and prankster, who, as I said, is already interested in Katrina. So he tries to physically intimidate Ichabod into leaving her alone and pulling pranks on him. The story comes to a turning point when Ichabod goes to a fancy party at Katrina's house. And can you pause that? And at this party, they were telling ghost stories, and Ichabod dances with Katrina, and then she pretty much breaks up with him, and so he leaves, and on his way home, he's chased by the Headless Horseman. Who he realized, I messed that up. And the Headless Horseman chases Ichabod over a bridge that he's not supposed to, according to the story, he's not supposed to be able to go past. And the Headless Horseman throws his head at him. The next morning, they find horse prints and Ichabod's hat and a smashed pumpkin, but no, and Ichabod's horse, but no sign of Ichabod. It's not really said whether he is killed by the Headless Horseman or just ran away, but either way, Brom ends up marrying Katrina. And that's pretty much the end of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And Rip Van Winkle, Rip is kind of a layabout, and his wife is always nagging him about just hanging out and not working and being more or less useless, more and more every day until he starts going out into the woods to get away from her. And one day he goes out and lays down to rest for a while and is woken up by a short, square man with bushy hair and a beard, and asks him to help him carry a keg to the top of the mountain. When he gets up there, there are other mysterious men who look the same, and they start drinking and bowling, and eventually Rip passes out, and when he wakes up, his dog is gone, and his gun is basically rotten, and he goes back to town, where nobody that he knows is still there. Apparently he was asleep for 20 years. He realized that, how much things had changed when he was gone. What was that? When Rip realizes that 20 years have gone by, he more or less does absolutely nothing different than he did uh, 20 years before. He goes back to doing nothing and just laying around town. In conclusion, these two um, protagonists, Rip Van Winkle and Ichabod Crane, are anti-heroes. They start and end the story no better than they were to begin with. Ichabod Crane doesn't get the girl. He might be dead, so not much better for him. And Rip Van Winkle is still a lazy layabout at the beginning and the end of the story. Um, that's all I got.